I've found every one of the sessions valuable in its own right, and some particularly resonated with me. Focus, ask really good questions, all things that seem so obvious, but you presented them in a way that made a real impact on me.
Good. Yeah, no, well, welcome. I'm glad to hear that. Thinking about your comment, Bill, just made me think of like one thing we don't make clear, and I'm not worried about this. It's always fun to tell people afterwards, is the fellowship is structured in, I think of them as client life cycle or business life cycle. So 3 segments. So segment 1 is like stranger to prospect. You know, we think of it as spreading the word. So 1 through 7 is focused on marketing. 7 through 14 are focused on prospective client. Sometimes we call them client to be to client. So it's almost like that first, second, third meetings. And so you'll see things like in the marketing one, I think there's one about opinions, and there's also one about opinions in the second segment. And the one about opinions in marketing is about having opinionated marketing. An interesting exercise with that is to just go do a Google search for financial planner in insert your city's name. Pull up the top 10, not the paid ads, but the ones that show up below the paid ads. Pull up the top 10 websites. And if you took the names off of it, it would be challenging to tell what the difference is. Right? I bet you'll find at least, out of the top 10, I bet you'll find at least 7 lighthouses and 5 or 6 compasses. And there will certainly be a couple holding hands walking on the beach, just to start with the graphics, right? But then the words are all the same too. I think fundamentally the only way to stand out is to have an opinion. And the good news is having an opinion isn't that complex. You already know what your opinions are. It's just, it might be hard, and it's only hard because it's new and novel and nobody's given you permission to do it, right? Everybody else has the lighthouse and now you're doing this. And that's a different kind of hard. That hard has more to do with imposter syndrome and the fear of rejection. But once we call it what it is, we can deal with it. Instead, what we often do is we bump up against that kind of hard, the fear of rejection, having an opinion. We bump up against that and we call it something else, and we find a place to hide. And our favorite place to hide is research. You know, so we'll go research that problem. We'll go figure out what color the font should be. Again, sticking in the marketing idea, right? What words other people use. And then we end up right back in the same place with the lighthouse on the website or the compass. So then if you look at the section 8 through 14 and you see the opinion there, that's about opinionated advice. Like we tell people what to do. And we have to balance that with letting the client be the hero of the story. And that's always a challenge. And my favorite way to think about that is the ability to look somebody in the eyes and say, Bill, after everything you've told me, you know, let me make sure I got this right. You know, do I have that right? Yes. After everything you've told me, here's what I would do. And you have to balance both of those, right? After everything you've told me, and then you have to have the conviction and the courage to have an opinion about the advice. And the challenge with having opinionated advice is it puts you on the hook. And you see this a lot with CPAs and attorneys. If a CPA suggests an attorney, they typically will slide 3 cards across the desk, right? And maybe they'll give a wink, wink to the one that they really mean. But why do we do that? Well, we do that to sort of protect ourselves a little bit. So having an opinion like, no, after everything I've heard, this is the attorney you should work with, puts us on the hook a bit. So that may be helpful. The third segment, 15 through 21, is about keeping people happy for life, including yourself. So it's spread the word, convert the interested is what we think of as the middle, and keep people happy for life. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful.